Hey guys, it's Vince. Today in this video we are going to be discussing how to use the incremental jog feature inside of Pumotix, and also for that matter using the differential feed rate options you have. So we're going to come over here to the Pumotix icon on the desktop, double click on it, and we're just going to wait for the option to select our screen set. In our case we're going to select the 6-axis screen set. Of course I'm using version 3.5 of the software. I'm going to switch over to the light screen set option. You can see here that, there we go, and we'll click OK. And you can see here we've got the Indian motorcycle project on the board. You can see our console is all set up, and you can notice right away that with the console off, and you can see this big on-off button here for the console, lower left corner, I cannot depress any of these buttons. Now, if we move over to the right, you can see there's a jog mode feature, and it says continuous step, and also has a pendant jog mode. And we also have our jog rate feature over here. These are the settings we're going to be identifying and talking about. First, we're going to toggle on the console. And again, I am in simulator mode. You can see that right here. I do not have the PLCM connected. I don't need it for this demonstration. So I'm going to turn on the console. You're going to notice some things. First of all, now I can click on any of these buttons. Everything becomes active. You're also going to notice that my yellow broken dotted lines, which represent my soft limits, are now present, representing my imaginary CNC chassis. And you can see the project is centered. We're in G54. You can see that right here. Here's our buttons for our macros, and we're all set. We can see that it's a dimensional box, and that's of course representing all three axes. You got your Z axis, you've got your X and Y, of course. And now what I want you to do is we would just left click the mouse button to bring everything back, double click it, and you can see you're right back in place. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this just slightly. And the reason I want to rotate it is so we can play with our Z axis. And I'm just picking that axis arbitrarily because under normal pretenses, this is most likely going to be the axis you would really want to utilize a differential jog rate and also a different jog mode, especially for safety for my new guys getting more familiar with their robot. So again, we can see we have an option of continuous. We also have an option for step, which is an incremental jog mode, and we will also have the option once again for a pendant. Now, what this basically breaks down to, just to define it, if I go to jog my Z-axis, and again I'm going to just stay with that axis arbitrarily, and I'm in continuous mode right now. And if I go to jog, you can see as I move up, it's moving, and if I hold the button down, it's just going to continuously move in whichever direction I select. We can see that by our DRO right here, and you can see exactly what's going on. You can also notice that the jogging keypad over here, if I was to just click this with the mouse, it'll do the same thing. Okay. Now what makes the step mode so unique is, let's say we want to move at a predetermined speed. Now I click on the step mode, and now as I did that, I can come over here, and if I leave the mouse cursor, once again we're going to get our hint, change incremental jog step. I'm going to read it in sequence. Jog step setting is available in the menu. Configuration settings, miscellaneous settings, jog increment parameters. Now it is in that menu, but of course it's right here also on our workflow process screen. Now if I click this button, you can see I'm at 1/1000th of an inch right now. If I click it again, it's going to incrementally go up higher. Okay, and we keep clicking it, and if I click it again, it goes to 10, and if I click it again, it's going to go back to continuous mode. And why it's doing that is because the incremental mode is getting larger and larger and larger and larger, and you'll see we'll get to 10 inches, and then it realizes that at that point you're essentially in a continuous jogging pattern. Okay, so if we wanted to now move our Z-axis, I'm going to come over here to step, and let's say you wanted to set up your tool for the first time. And I hear this a lot. A lot of guys get nervous about setting their tool the first time. We don't want to go into the table. Well, if you left it at, let's say, 1/1000th of an inch, which probably would be utterly too small, maybe you'd set this to 5/1000ths of an inch. Let's see if we can do that. 0.05, enter. Now we're at 5/1000ths of an inch. When I depressed the keypad before and I held the button, it would continuously move the Z-axis. Well, now I'm going to press it, and you'll notice by the DRO up here, it's only going to move in the incremental amount that I've selected. Okay, so I'm going to hit the positive jog on the Z-axis, and you can see I'm moving, but what's funny is you really don't see a representation here, and the reason why is 5/1000ths of an inch is so small, it's very hard to see with the naked eye. And you would most likely just hear your motor click on and off briefly, But again, your DRO is picking it up. And see, if I hold the button down, I am not moving any more than 5/1000ths of an inch. This is a fantastic safety feature as you become more in depth with using your system. Now, once again, if I wasn't happy with this and I wanted to go faster, I could click this button, and as I click the button, you see it went back to 1/1000th of an inch. Now we're climbing again. We're going back up, and you can select. And again, if we stay here, and at this measurement ratio, you're looking, at moving a much greater amount than 1/1000th of an inch. If we click it, you can see now that the spindle's motion actually becomes present. You can see here we are moving again on our DRO. But even if I hold the button, it's not going to overdo that actual measuring. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is that whatever measuring matrix you've selected, whether it be imperial or the metric system, that's what will be actually dictating the measurement used. Okay, so when I said it was at 1/1000th of an inch or an inch, now if I click on the Z-axis positive toggle in again to jog, we're going to see it move an inch, and now it moved an inch. And if I go back down, it's going to move an inch. So again, very, very, very specific and a maximum amount of control. But let's say we want to slow down the speed. You saw how fast it was moving, an inch. Okay, so there's 1 inch in the positive, and we'll move 1 inch in the negative. But now we want to slow our jog rate down. Okay, you got a button right here for jog rate. You can go positive. We're at 100% right now. You can also go negative. You also have these quick select tabs right here. So let's say we want to go 25% of our normal jog speed. You'll see how much slower the motion is. Okay, super, super powerful stuff once you understand it. On the fly, you're able to do this, again, depending upon what you want to do. Let's say you want to move at 10%. Now you'll really see how slow. You see how smooth everything is. So again, depending on what you're trying to do, this is super beneficial. Both of these settings, as you guys become more familiar with your software, become super beneficial. And again, just raising everything. If you're not happy, you can go back to 100%. And again, if you're at the 1 inch marker as far as measuring, we can click it again, go to 10. And one more time I click it, I go to continuous. Now, if you don't want to go through all that, let's say you're right here, you can always come over here and go right back to continuous. And now you're jogging once again in a continuous fashion. And you see that if I hold the button, the Z-axis is going to jog in a continuous fashion. So again, very powerful stuff, guys. I hope that this video has been helpful. I hope you guys are learning some things. The big thing to realize here for my guys just getting involved with CNC is you do not have to have your motors mounted to your chassis excuse me, in order to learn something. And let me explain what I mean by that. I know that now we're coming into the holiday season. Everybody's excited to get their machine running, and I think that's fantastic. I welcome more and more people to this genre. I think more of you guys are going to love it. But what I recommend is to anybody not familiar with how a robot works yet, especially the electronic side of it, and they're getting used to the software, leave the motors off the chassis in the beginning and just label them. Label them X, Y, and Z, or whatever arbitrary axis you have. And once you've done that, you know you've already confirmed motion with the software you're using, start playing with the software's features. And that's the best way to define what and how the motors are going to behave once you start playing with certain features. This is a really cool feature set on both of these, the jog rate and the step differential, to play with the motors off the chassis. And you can really get a feel for what's actually happening, and you never have any risk to the chassis itself. So again, really beneficial, really something to think about. And again, the main thing here is that you're constantly practicing. And again, we can see here by just doing an articulated view here of the Z-axis, which would be the main axis most of the time that you would be using adjustable step. But there are many times you'll be testing switches and other things. These are things to think about. And again, once you've already confirmed everything and gotten somewhat familiar with the process with the motors off the chassis, when they're mounted to the chassis, you have that confidence, and that will keep everything much safer. So again, guys, I hope the video has been helpful. I do realize that more and more videos always bring up more questions. The big thing here is that you guys understand, just message me direct at storm2313@gmail.com. You can also message me through my eBay store. You'll see links in the video in the beginning and at the end. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Keep in mind right now, things are really crazy in the shop. We're coming really close to the holidays. I wish everybody the best. And I do thank you all for your support. Take care.